Saquon Barkley was once touted as the next all-time great running back, but what happened?
Saquon Barkley went down in a heap.
Let's talk about how he went from an all-time great prospect to now where he can't even get more than a 1-year contract extension. Make sure to like the video for the YouTube algorithm, and also only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed, so if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind. Enjoy the video. Before Saquon found himself in this situation, he found himself in the Bronx in New York City, where he was born into a family of athletes. His father and great uncle were both boxers, so Saquon grew up tough and was raised to withstand anything life would throw at him. He grew up as a New York Jets fan, actually idolizing former New York Jets running back Curtis Martin. But at just 4 years old, his family would move to Pennsylvania in the eastern region in search of a safer and more suburban environment. Barkley would end up playing high school football at Whitehall High School in Whitehall Township, Pennsylvania, in a conference known for producing many future pro athletes across multiple sports. Barkley would flash his all-time great potential by rushing for an impressive 3,646 yards with 63 touchdowns from his sophomore to senior years. As a senior in 2014, he rushed for 1,800 yards and 31 touchdowns while being rated a 4-star recruit. As you would expect, he had multiple offers and actually originally committed to Rutgers University before he would ultimately change his mind, go back to Pennsylvania, and commit to Penn State University. Was that a smart decision though, considering it'd be more competitive? He could have played more at Rutgers. What would happen at Penn State?
Off and running! Saquon Barkley! Say bye-bye! Touchdown, Penn State!
It turns out Barkley would end up being the best running back the University of Penn State would ever see. As a true freshman, Barkley would play in 11 games, rushing for 1,076 yards and 7 touchdowns, but as a sophomore, he would play even better, rushing for nearly 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. This season, he would help lead the Nittany Lions to a 2016 Big Ten championship. And this leads us into his junior year, where he would set the school all-time record for most all-purpose yards in a game with 358. Absolutely insane numbers, and he would finish the season with 1,271 yards and 18 more touchdowns, ending his college career as he announced he would leave for the NFL. He finished college with 3,843 yards, 43 rushing touchdowns, and a 5.7 yard per carry average. He also had just shy of 1,200 yards receiving in his time at Penn State, and although he didn't win a Heisman, he was a first-team All-American and ended his Penn State career with records of most rushing touchdowns, most yards for a freshman, most yards for a sophomore, and most total yards in a game. But what really brought on this video is the so-called hype for Barkley coming out of college specifically. Before the 2018 NFL draft, everyone had Barkley projected as a top 10 pick, and leading up to the draft, he kept rising up everyone's mock drafts. Some saying he could go number 2, number 1, the highest running back since Reggie Bush did in 2006 when he was a number 2 overall pick. Mel Kiper Jr. himself, who has never been a big fan of running backs in the first round, said, quote, "Barkley is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. Teams that pass on this young man will be sorry." So that's really high praise from Mel Kiper Jr. And of course, he's not always 100% right, but for him to say that for a running back was pretty crazy. Barkley would run a 4.440, and with his skills and elusiveness along with his break tackle skills, some said he would be the best NFL running back we've seen since Adrian Peterson. The Cleveland Browns reportedly almost took Barkley with the number 1 overall pick, but they ultimately drafted Baker Mayfield instead, as we all know. However, with the number 2 overall pick, the New York Football Giants would take Saquon Barkley, and with the way the league has been trending, it was a pretty huge commitment. But again, many considered Barkley to be the next leading running back, the next Adrian Peterson, Emmitt Smith, the next all-time great. Would he be able to live up to all that hype though?
Saquon Barkley across midfield, down the sideline, stayed in bounds, and Barkley.
Well, after his rookie season, the answer looked like a resounding yes. He played all 16 games, rushing for 1,307 yards with 11 touchdowns and an impressive 91 receptions for 721 yards and 4 more touchdowns. Despite these impressive numbers, the Giants would finish just 5-11, but Barkley showed that he has amazing skills, and he was quickly being considered one of the best running backs in the entire NFL, and some saying he was the best player in the NFL. He would be voted as the offensive Rookie of the Year and was a Pro Bowl selection as well. Very impressive start to his career, and he would follow this up with being voted as the 2019 NFL Top 100 number 16 player. This is voted on by active NFL players only, so he clearly won the respect of his peers his rookie year. And again, after one season being voted number 16, a lot of people thought he was going to be one of the best players in the entire league. Well, going into year 2, he would miss 3 games, but he still rushed for over 1,000 yards. But again, the Giants were just not very good. They didn't have a really good roster. But Barkley was still considered great and was hoping to come back strong in year 3. But he started week 1 slow, and unfortunately in just week 2 of the 2020 season, disaster would strike.
Getting twisted as he's going out of bounds, and then looks like he grabs at his right knee, and the game has come to a stop.
Saquon Barkley would tear his ACL, which would force him to miss the entire remainder of the season. Now, as we all know, technology and medicine has come a long way, and ACLs aren't looked at the same way they were 10-15 years ago, but they're still one of the hardest injuries for any pro athlete to come back from, especially for a running back that relies so heavily on their strength from their waist down. However, despite this scare, the Giants would pick up a 5th year on Barkley's contract, and he would come back ready to go for the 2021 NFL season, and he would play 13 games overall that year, but was limited to just 162 carries, and he did look a little bit slowed down, or just not the same. You know, you couldn't really quite put your finger on it. It looked like the injury did have some effect on him. But again, the Giants weren't a good team. I mean, they finished 4-13, so it was still really hard to tell. Was it more of the team? Was it more on Barkley? This brings us to last year, the 2022 NFL season, where Barkley would actually play in all 16 games for the first time since his rookie year. Was he as good as he was pre-injury? Was he back to being one of the best running backs in the league?
Nice cut, there he goes. Saquon to the end zone, touchdown Giants.
Yes, it looked like he was back, and with a vengeance. Saquon would rush for 1,312 yards, 10 touchdowns, and another 57 receptions, earning his 2nd career Pro Bowl selection and was 3rd place in the Comeback Player of the Year award. He played a huge role in getting the New York Giants back in the playoffs, as well as they finished with a 9-7-1 record. The Giants would even defeat the Minnesota Vikings in a wildcard game where Barkley accounted for 109 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns. However, the following week, he was held to just 61 yards rushing in a divisional loss to the Eagles that cut away from the Giants very, very quickly. And that brings us to current time, folks, where on July 25th, 2023, he signed his franchise tag with the Giants, giving him just a 1-year deal for $10.1 million and up to $11 million with some incentives that he has to hit. This also means they can franchise tag him again next year, which is not what he wanted, but again, he did sign this contract. It definitely shows he's a team player, though, by not holding out. He signed it, he went back to camp, but again, this was supposed to be a historically great running back, and someone everyone thought would be signed to a huge extension. Despite the ACL tear, he has been an amazing player in the NFL, and he had a great, amazing bounce back year in 2022. If he plays that well again, do the Giants give him that huge extension? Or like we've seen recently, is the running back market just completely in the tank and we won't see those huge running back extensions again? The game of football is changing so much, and it has been for the last 10 years, and the money for the running backs is just not what it used to be. The position's not valued like it used to be. Barkley, if he stays healthy, should be one of the best running backs in the league again, and I think he reminded a lot of people about this last year. He's so exciting to watch, and every time I see him play, I know he's just one move away from something special. It's unfortunate he had that injury a few years ago, but let me know in the comments below if you think he will stay healthy, and if he does, would you sign him to a long-term deal? Or would you just franchise tag him over and over again until you think he's not worth it anymore? Was Barkley really worth the 2nd overall pick in that draft? Well, I don't think he's lived up to the quote-unquote generational player so many people have touted him to prior to the draft, but he has definitely shown that he's one of the best running backs in the league, and I hope he does stay healthy so he can have a long career. Remember, Barkley is only 26 years old, and even in this new pass-happy league, he should still have, I would say, a great 4 years left in him if he stays healthy. That would put him at that 30-year-old age mark where that seems where most teams start shying away from signing running backs. Only time will tell if he can still live up to all that hype, or if the game will even allow him to do so. Either way, I'll definitely be watching and tuning in for Barkley, and I think you should as well. If you're still watching this video, thank you so much for staying until the end, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, as I will be releasing videos weekly going forward. Let me know your thoughts on Barkley. Will the injuries keep him from attaining all that hype, or will he end his career as one of the best running backs to ever do it?